Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, as we welcome you inside the studio here tonight for Friday First Down. I'm Eli Balbach alongside Eli Roper, and today on this edition we'll be talking everything Bulldogs and Millers leading up to this HCC matchup here tonight at CF Roark Stadium. As Eli, the Dogs are coming in 7-0. They're always on a hot streak going against these Millers, but usually Noblesville, they always put up a good fight. So why do you think that is?
Yeah, well, Noblesville has always been a tough opponent. I mean, HCC conference play, any game can be close in this conference, of course. But despite their record, they've always seemed to fare up well with the Bulldogs.
Yeah, definitely true, Eli. But something that the Dogs do have that Noblesville doesn't is some great momentum, as last week they did travel up to Zionsville to put a beating on the Eagles 66-28.
Yeah, well, you said a beating, but it wasn't like that from the start, as Zionsville sped off to an early 14-0 lead, forcing 2 fumbles on Brownsburg early in that first half. But then Brownsburg started to pick up the pace there late in the second quarter, storming down the field with ease, led by Oscar Fry, throwing for 266 yards and a career-high 5 touchdowns. And 3 of those touchdowns went to Avon Robinson, who had 87 yards on the day. And then on the defensive end for Brownsburg, Jameer Pendleton with 2 interceptions and a fumble recovery. So Brownsburg really with a great performance last week.
Yeah, Brownsburg obviously with the tremendous performance, but really this entire season they've been putting up tremendous performances, as we'll look at their season results so far, obviously being undefeated.
Yeah, in week 1 there against Fort Wayne Bishop Dwenger with a 45-13 win. Going into this game, Brownsburg did not have a listed starter at quarterback, so Fry and Stevens split snaps, and it was a 2-touchdown debut for Dante Herzog, and a big breakout game for sophomore wide receiver Brandon Sharp, accumulating 97 yards.
Yeah, and only off of 5 receptions, as going into the season, obviously losing that star wide receiver. There's Corey Smith, who ended up committing to Tulsa, so they really didn't know who to look out for, but Brandon Sharp really coming out of nowhere.
Yeah, and then in week 2, a big matchup against Cathedral. It's kind of been the standard as of lately, that matchup between Cathedral and Brownsburg is. And it was a 30-14 win for Brownsburg. But going into this game, Cathedral star running back Jalen Bonds was questionable, but he did play through the injury, and the Dogs did a great job containing him. And Brownsburg starts the game off really well in that game, but then the weather did delay it to that Saturday, where Brady Lewis had a massive debut with 150 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. And Avon Robinson had 9 receptions for 180 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, with that Avon Robinson performance obviously showing that Brownsburg able to regroup themselves and not have 1 wide receiver who's tremendous, but 2 as well to make defenses stand on their toes. As the next week they traveled down to Franklin Central to their home stadium as they put a beating on the Flashes 40-0, as a dominant second quarter from the Dogs with 5 total touchdowns really set them apart, as not only 1 touchdown but 2 defensive touchdowns from those 2-star DBs in David Pearson and Chance Whitfield. David Pearson with the pick 6 and Chance Whitfield with a 95-yard fumble return. But then Brandon Sharp with a tremendous game, 230 yards on only 7 receptions, and then Oscar Fry throwing for 277 yards, which, I mean, outstanding game from both of those sophomores, really showing the Flashes up. As the next week, Brownsburg with all that momentum going into that B&O Rotary Bell rivalry game, as it was a quiet first half, only 10-7 at the break. But I don't know what Coach Hart said in that locker room, but Brownsburg off to a quick start in that second half. Yosua Stevens, the senior, able to come out and make a huge impact with 2 rushing touchdowns. Brady Lewis with 87 yards to put the beat down on the Orioles even more. And then Brandon Sharp leading the receivers yet again with 83 yards.
Yeah, and then the next week at Fishers, Brownsburg with a 31-30 win. Brownsburg quarterback Oscar Fry had an incredible 2-minute drill at the end of this game, throwing a 4th and 20 to Brandon Sharp, a massive play there. And Brandon Sharp had 128 yards in this game, including the game-winning touchdown catch with under 30 seconds to go that sparked a lot of attention around the state of Indiana on his name.
Yeah, definitely the closest game so far for Brownsburg, and nail-biter for sure. As then the next week, obviously the number 1, number 2 ranked matchup here at Brownsburg, homecoming game, as it was delayed to the Saturday due to the hurricane, but still a great game as Brownsburg a little sloppy on the offensive side as they had multiple turnovers, but Brandon Sharp with a 95-yard kickoff return to end the third quarter as well, going into that fourth quarter, really gave all the momentum to the Dogs to able to pull that upset off.
Yeah, and then the next week against Zionsville, this was the Week 7 matchup we had just talked about. Zionsville starting the game 14-0 and Brownsburg dominating the rest of the game in an all-around effort. The 5-touchdown game from Fry, the 132-yard game from Sharp, and the 87-yard game from Avon Robinson. But yeah, Brownsburg, the offense, very electric this year, averaging 39.1 points per game. And then the defense only giving up 16.1, so a great start for Brownsburg on the year, starting 7-0.
Yeah, Brownsburg really showing Indiana what's up, as a lot of doubters before the season because they had graduated so many star players, but them able to reset, regroup, and then come out onto all these HCC opponents, all these state opponents, just crushing all of them. As now, Noblesville, obviously, they've been crushing that series as well, as they have won 15 of the last 20, surprisingly. But last year was really a close game, as it was only 21-13 at halftime. But then Jake Dunn with the huge 75-yard touchdown pass to really seal the game. But then Brownsburg able to drive in that final quarter with 1 minute left, fumbles at the goal line. So a little sliver of hope for the Millers. But then one of the only passes that Noblesville tried to create went straight to the safety, Griffin Simpson of Brownsburg, who ended up committing to Butler to seal the game, as Garrett Sherrill really the MVP with 279 scrimmage yards and 3 touchdowns. But I mean, Brownsburg, like we said, graduating all those seniors, and this Noblesville defense, who only held Brownsburg to 27 points last year, who's really returning most of them. So it's going to be a really close game. So hopefully Brownsburg on a 7-game win streak, really going to have a tough opponent here tonight. Yeah, well, like you said, Brownsburg's really dominated this series the past 20 years on the 7-game win streak, winning 15 of the last 20. And so usually Brownsburg wins by more than 20 in these games. So it'll be interesting to see what happens tonight with this game. Yeah, definitely something to look out for, as we will catch you right after these commercial breaks, as we'll dive a little deeper into this Noblesville team and see what really makes them a true competitor against these Dogs. We'll be right back.
Some see a student athlete working hard in the weight room. We see a future leader learning there are no shortcuts to success. Some see a start to a swim meet. We see the starting blocks for life. Proud to keep education in front of athletics since 1903.
Always a great performance there from our Brownsburg band, as we always like to appreciate them at halftime, as you guys do have a competition tomorrow at Center Grove, so we do say good luck to you. But we will get back into football, as now we'll take a little closer look at the Millers throughout this season and their game plan.
Yeah, well, the Noblesville Millers started off the season really hot with a 43-24 win against Mount Vernon, and then the 49-6 win against Homestead, but then they've been on a 5-game losing streak, so it'll be interesting to see how they face up with this tough HCC opponent in Brownsburg tonight.
Yeah, all of them only 1-score games, so definitely going to have to look out for that. And all of them being HCC opponents as well, which really is not the best for them in the standings, but able to try and bounce back here tonight, as we'll look at now. Usually Noblesville, they always have a historic, really tricky offense. So, I mean, as you see there, usually they do play with 2 to 3 running backs in the backfield and a couple offensive linemen, which really tricks up all these different kinds of teams and always gives Brownsburg a challenge.
Yeah, they like to run these plays with multiple people in the backfield, and then sometimes the quarterback will fake the handoff and just take off, and that's a big part of this Noblesville offense, as you see here, just the intricate plays that Noblesville draws up.
Yeah, and then Noblesville, like you said, using all those different types of key players. As the number one to look out for is number 5, Brody Gump, who is their senior running back, who has 753 yards so far this season on only 77 carries. He's had 4 100-plus yard games so far, and then the other 3 were just under 50. So really, the Noblesville offense really determines on him. And then obviously their senior quarterback, like you said, he's really one of the main players to look out for, as he is the one who determines who gets the ball each play. So going to have to look out for him, as he has 3 touchdowns passing this year. So not only to look out for him when he throws it. And then finally, on the defensive side of the ball, number 29, Tyler Holmes, only a sophomore. He does have 2 interceptions and 5 pass deflections, and he's really stepped up on this Millers defense.
Yeah, those are the key players for Noblesville, but a guy that you definitely don't want to sleep on is number 2, Aiden Brewer, the tight end, because when he gets the ball, his averages are very good. As you can see here, 1 reception, 81 yards. Against Franklin Central. He's the main target on that Noblesville offense when they decide to pass the ball. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Aiden Brewer and Noblesville tonight.
Yeah, definitely going to be the player to look out for, as we will catch up right back here on Friday First Down after these commercial breaks, where we will talk about the one and only Brownsburg Bulldogs.
He's going the distance. He's going for speed. She's all alone. All alone in a time of need. Because he's racing and pacing and plotting the course. He's fighting and biting and riding on his horse. He's going the distance. Yeah! That's the way every day goes. Every time we've no control. If the sky is pink and white, if the ground is black and yellow, it's the same way you showed me. Nod my head, don't close my eyes. Halfway on a slow move. It's the same way you showed me.
Be fielded by Brandon Sharp, and he makes a move. Brandon Sharp, what a return, and Brandon Sharp is going to take it to the house. Brandon Sharp with the kickoff return touchdown.
Ecstatic call there from BCSC.TV's Cade Showall to really capture the moment which turned the tide in that Westfield game, as we did have one of our own BCSC.TV members, Caleb Weber, have a chance to catch up with defensive star David Pearson, as we'll look on this one-on-one interview.
I know you've had a really great defensive year this season. How do you guys keep that morale before and during every game?
I think the defensive end of the ball keeps our morality before the game by having a goal. We know each offense has their own different tendencies and different things, so understanding that we have to come with our A game, playing fast, playing physical, and understanding that every night's going to be a challenge. Every Friday night's going to be a challenge. Nothing's going to be given to us. And also we got to have like a target on our back, us being number 1. So just understanding that we have a goal and we have expectations to come out every Friday night the best that we possibly can be.
I know that Noblesville offense can be really tricky and confusing to follow sometimes. How do you guys plan to get past those confusing moments and lead your team to victory?
We have to understand that every night on the defensive end of the ball especially, we have to play physical and fast and understand your reads and your things. So we have to study the game, study their offense, study what they like to do, and just do what we need to do, because I'm confident in the offensive side of the ball to get things done, but just making sure that our defense does our job on the Friday night.
What are some of your goals for the rest of the season?
Our goals for the rest of the season is to get to Lucas Oil Stadium, win a ring, This is my last year. We've been undefeated. Like, we rarely lost in the regular season, but once we get to that playoff time, I think everybody knows that we just can't pull through. So we just want to get a strong playoff run and get to Lucas Oil Stadium.
What is yours and the team's mindset when it comes to the tournament season?
When it comes to the playoff, our mindset is to just stay humble and just know that we've done everything before. We played countless games. Hopefully we get an undefeated season, but we got to understand that it's one and done now. So we have to flip on a switch and be even better than we was previously.
Yeah, thank you, Caleb, for that awesome interview. As we go from one defensive star player to look at other Brownsburg key players, as we will start at the offensive side.
Yeah, well, obviously quarterback Oscar Fry and Yosua Stevens have been dialed in this year, but don't forget to give credit to their weapons on offense. This Bulldogs receiving core has been excellent, as Avon Robinson brings that size and a physical downfield threat that really spaces out the field for Brownsburg, while Brandon Sharp brings the athleticism and speed that allows offensive coordinator J.D. Whitaker to draw up these creative and big plays. But then, of course, on the defensive end of the ball, you have Hunter Childs and Alex Burke that you just saw there. But also keep an eye out for Brownsburg's running back duo of Brady Lewis and Kovan Sumter Bay, as this Dog's offensive line is very strong. So they create a lot of holes for these running backs to go through.
Yeah, and with all these key players on that Brownsburg offense, the X factor here tonight, number 81, Tez Virgil.
Yeah, Virgil had 4 catches for 27 yards in his first 3 games, but against Fishers had 11 for 75. He's been a huge part in this Brownsburg offense with Dante Herzog out, but especially in that Fishers game, he came up huge late in that fourth quarter, leading Brownsburg to that victory.
Yeah, definitely a key factor in this offense, and only being the number 3 wide receiver in that core really shows the depth that they have. But really, the playmaker for all of them, getting the ball everywhere, obviously Oscar Fry and Yosua Stevens, as our very own Cade Showalter is able to catch up with them in this exclusive one-on-one interview.
As many of you know, Coach Hart and the Brownsburg Bulldogs have played 2 quarterbacks this season, number 1 Yosua Stevens and number 18 Oscar Fry. They both bring a different dynamic to this team's offense. Fry is your prototypical pocket passer, and as the season has progressed, he has taken over as a starter. Even though he is just a sophomore, he has not played like one and has continued to shine in his first year starting.
It's been amazing, obviously, going out there. It's been super cool every Friday. It's just been great learning, too. This has been a great learning experience. I've learned so much from the start of the year, so just being out there with the guys, too, but then also just as a leader, too. Obviously, we go out there as quarterbacks. We're going to go lead the team, lead the offense, lead the defense. So it's been important just like building those character traits as well.
Yosua Stevens is a mobile quarterback, and although Coach Hart likes to call design run plays for him, his arm has played a huge part in the Dogs' offense.
I'm more of a runner type QB. I'm dual threat, so I can run and then pass. And then he's just in-pocket kind of passer, so he's just better at that than I am, and we just click. I mean, we have our 2 different abilities, and we're going to utilize both of them. We just do our job. Coach prepared us all week, so just we have different abilities, me and Oscar. So just me running the ball, sometimes passing, and then him just being an overall good athlete. Just helps us overall to win the game.
Yosua's been great. He's one of my best friends on the team. He's hilarious. Like we joke around all the time, so it's good keeping things light just between all of us. So that's one thing. But then also his knowledge of the game too is great. So just looking up to him and learning from him too, it's been great.
He's very mature for his age. He's just a positive kid having on the team. He's a good impact for me. Just a light to everyone around him.
The Dogs will continue to implement this 2 quarterback system, and they hope that this unique game plan will take them to the state championship. Cade Showalter, BCSC.TV.
Thanks, Cade, for that exclusive interview, which really gave us behind the scenes to those quarterback minds. As right after these commercial breaks, we will come back to you with a little more stats, getting you ready for this Noblesville versus Brownsburg game here tonight.
To be charming and smart and disarming, it's hard to pretend you're the best. It's hard to fulfill everyone's expectations, it's hard to keep up with the rest. But I'm gonna win, I'm gonna try, I'll never lose, I'll never. You see me before, you will see me again. I'll never give up, I'll never give in.
Some see a student athlete working on a shot. we see a powerful lesson in persistence. Some see a student preparing for success on an exam. We see a student athlete preparing for success in life. Proud to keep education in front of athletics since 1903.
Who got knocked out? I got your back. Who got knocked out? I got your back. Now where my dogs at? Where my dogs at? Where my dogs at? Big dog! Big dog!
The I Got Your Back chant is always one cherished here at Brownsburg, which really hypes up not only the players, but the crowd there at CF Roark Stadium, which really almost gives them a home field advantage, which they have been riding for the last couple years.
Yeah, the Brownsburg has been excellent at home thanks to the student section and their coaches preparing them, as you can see here, last season with the 5-0 record, 4-0, 6-1. They've just been absolutely dominant at home.
Yeah, Brownsburg always getting those Brownsburg fans hyped up and always making sure they have a show to watch, which will make them all happy. As now the sectional draw is this weekend, so let's take a little look at the sectional preview for Brownsburg.
Yeah, Eli, Brownsburg obviously the favorite in this sectional, but they do have some weaknesses that have been shown in some of these games. Pike, the 4-3 team, with the win over Fishers, Ben Davis and Avon both have been kind of struggling this year, which has not been typical as of late, especially for Ben Davis, but they did get that big win against Carmel last week, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with the draw coming up on October 13th.
Yeah, Brownsburg has been stumped the last couple of years against Ben Davis, not able to get out of that sectionals for the last couple of years, so definitely going to try and make it out this year as we'll look at the HCC standings, which could play a pretty big role here tonight.
Yeah, Brownsburg obviously at the top there with the 7-0 record. Fishers trailing along with Westfield, as all of these teams have had a great season so far. And then you got Franklin Central, HSC, Zionsville, Avon, and Noblesville to round out the standings.
Yeah, always HCC, always competitive one to look forward to, as all those teams always at the highest of highs. And speaking of highest of highs, let's look at those state rankings, as Brownsburg at the #1 spot.
Yeah, Brownsburg obviously the #1 in coaches and media, but Lawrence North jumping up to #2 after their win last week, but then Westfield the #2 in the media poll. So those top spots really just being tossed around, but Brownsburg solidifying at #1.
Yeah, Brownsburg being the clear #1 favorite, as obviously the HCC still some teams in those state rankings, which just shows how powerful this Hoosier Crossroads Conference is. As now we'll look here at some team comparisons for the Millers and the Dogs leading up to tonight.
Yeah, both of these teams are pretty high scoring, with Brownsburg averaging 39.1, just slightly more than Noblesville. But Noblesville really likes to attack you through the ground, as they have 23 more rushing touchdowns on the year. And Noblesville only with 53.6 passing yards per game and 3 total passing touchdowns, while Brownsburg has 231 passing yards per game and 20 total passing touchdowns. Brownsburg, you see there, +8 in the turnover margin, only allowing 16.1 points per game, so it really shows that dominant defense.
Yeah, Brownsburg, the all-around team with the rushing, the passing, and the defense, going to be hard to stop, but Noblesville, like we said earlier, they're going to be tricky with that run game / sometimes the passing game going over the top. And just before the game here tonight, do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, it's been a great season for Brownsburg, so it'll be interesting to see how they handle Noblesville tonight, as they have played very well this year, but Noblesville, like we said earlier, always a tough task when they come to Brownsburg.
Yeah, Brownsburg going to have to be ready on their toes here tonight, as it's almost game time here at CF Roark Stadium. As we thank you all for tuning in to this week's edition of Friday First Down. I'm Eli Balbach alongside Eli Roper, and we wish you all a good night.